Okay, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining. Welcome to today's session, Identity Access and the MS Opportunity, what's actually working right now. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Norman Newell. I head up the sales team here in Renaissance, the sales director, been with Renaissance for about 15 years now. Um, Renaissance is one of Ireland's premier distributors in cybersecurity and compliance. Um, and we've been around since 1987. So um, some people on this call today probably weren't even around when we started. So I'm not going to apologize for that, but it gives you some sort of idea of our pedigree. Um, but today, I think we're going to be focusing on a subject that I know is in front of everybody's minds at the moment, and that's identity and access management. It's a subject which I've been asked about many times, and I know there's a lot of interest out there, and especially for MSPs, and because you guys want to understand how you can turn this into actual revenue and growth for your company with your partners. Um, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Michael Reeves. Michael and I know each other for a number of years, and you're going to find this very, very interesting. He's one of the most interesting guys to listen to. Um, He's the MSP and Ecosystem Evangelist for 1Password. That's some title, Michael. But Michael has worked with MSP partners globally, and he really does have a very good perspective on actually what's working for MSPs in the field right now and around the globe. Um, so he'll be sharing some very practical insights on how to we shift towards the AI driven distributed IT and how it's changing what clients are seeing. Um, but before we do dive in, I'd like to just do a few quick housekeeping items. So, Michael, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, he's done it already. I told you he was good.
I
um,
gotcha.
yeah, absolutely. So, for this session, everybody is muted, but you will be unmuted during the Q&A. We're going to record the session because some people may not be able to attend, and obviously we want to distribute it afterwards. But please feel free to enter any questions into the chat, or you can send them directly to me, and we'll be following those through at the end. So thank you, and without further ado, I'll pass you over to Michael.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Norman. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Reeves, and yeah, I'm the evangelist and ecosystem leader for 1Password. And my role here basically is to bring MSPs together, talk to them about what the opportunity is in the IAM space, and then show you how 1Password delivers value in that space. And I think it's an incredible area if you think about the history of where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going as an ecosystem. I think this is the next big opportunity for MSPs. So let's just go ahead and get started. So, want to talk to you a little bit about 1Password to give you a history of where we've been and also where we're going, because I think it really relates to the topic that we're about to talk about. And 1Password was founded about 20 years ago, actually as a consumer company. Our founders were software developers and they needed a very secure way to store password information in their development process. And so they built a software and then they started sharing it with their developer friends, and it kind of caught on. And there's two reasons why, and it's kind of what our company is founded upon, this idea where you can, as a user, be extremely secure in your identity, but also be very productive in your workflows. So, and normally when we introduce security controls in a workflow, normally that reduces productivity. But actually, with 1Password, they found a way to take identity and actually make workers more productive. And so they founded this company. Very soon after its launch, Apple actually discovered 1Password and then put it on their marketplace, and the rest is kind of history. We've been in the business space for about 10 years now. We launched into the SMB space with about 180 employees, and we quickly got traction in the market. And so that continued to grow until more recently, where we launched into the channel. We've been in the channel about 18 months, 2 years now. And we're building that side of our business. And also, what we're doing is we're getting into the AI space, but not in the way that most companies are getting into the AI space. Most vendors in the security space are actually have the idea of incorporating AI into the software that they're selling into the marketplace. We're using AI in our software, but what we're doing is aiming at a little different goal, and that is, how do we take AI workflows or AI sessions and be able to interject a security control into that workflow so that we could actually secure AI agents when they're requesting access into intellectual property. So that's kind of where 1Password is going. It's very, very exciting. It's a brand new space, and so that's what we're all about. So when you think about 1Password, I want you to think about it in this way. We want to be able to help you and your customers secure not only identities, so to have the right user access the right resource at the right time. And that user could be a human like you and I, or it could be software. It could be an AI agent. So a user is any entity that's trying to access intellectual property from some other system, and we want to be able to secure that identity, secure that authentication workflow, and do it in a very seamless and a very productive way. And so that's what we're all about. It's really exciting. It's a great space to be in, and it's a great company to work for. So I joined the company about 18 months ago, and it's been an exciting journey. And this slide explains the reason why I came to 1Password. So let's talk about that. So in the security space, and I've been in the security space since the 90s, and the security space is basically a function of three areas. One is the ability to analyze risk and harden your environment. Then you have reactive security controls. And then you have, if all of that fails, you've got human resources or automation that comes in and cleans up some sort of breach. But I want to ask you, as we start today, how many of you would go to the market with your doors to your flat looking like this? I would venture to say not a single one of you. I know I don't. And even if I had an alarm system in my house, even if I had people roaming the network, or roaming the area in front of my house, I still wouldn't leave my house with its doors wide open. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is, why wouldn't we do that? And the answer to that question is why 1Password exists. And actually, the reason why I came to this company. It is, we know instinctively that if we left our doors wide open and everyone else in the neighborhood had their doors closed, a criminal or someone who wants to do us harm would actually just walk into our house. We are an easy target for a criminal if we leave the doors wide open. And so we instinctively know as people that we just close our door. Like for example, if you get in your car and you go to the market or you go to a sports event or whatever the case may be, and you drive there, the first thing you do is close your door. It's the same reason. Because if we imagine yourself going into a parking lot and looking at a parking lot full of cars with their doors wide open, we would think those people are crazy. Well, guess what? In the security space, and this has always been the case, in the security space, most businesses, especially small, mid-sized businesses, very small businesses, do not have the door closed on their flats. They're wide open. And why is that? Because they're using passwords that are reused. They're using very easily broken passwords. They're using, they're not securing the front door to their house by their passwords. So why 1Password exists is actually to make it very easy for the user to have an extremely secure password. It's completely unique, and the user doesn't even have to think about it. So when I first came to 1Password, I didn't use a password manager. About 20 plus years ago, a gentleman at American Express taught me how to make very unique passwords, very complicated, unique passwords. And I was using that through most of my work career. And so when I came to 1Password, they gave me 1Password on my phone and on my laptop, and it's completely revolutionized my life. I cannot remember the last time I actually logged in to an application either on my laptop or my phone. 1Password just automatically logs me in with a very long, complicated password that only it knows. I don't even know what it is, including the MFA process. So I have not interacted with an application to access it for probably at least a year. And that's what 1Password does, and that's what it can do for your user community. Being able to close the front door and also increase productivity at the same time. So let's talk about what we're actually selling into the marketplace. So about a year ago, 1Password got into the MSP space. And what was our big barrier at the time was we were a single tenant architecture for most of our career, or most of our history. And then we unlocked multi-tenancy about 18 months ago, about right when I started the company. And so that was the secret sauce for us. We already had a user base that was wanting our software. In fact, if you start to sell 1Password into your user community, they're going to love it. I have people, if I wear 1Password shirts or any sort of, if I go to a conference and they find out I work for 1Password, most people will stop you and say, I love your software. So we have a lot of pull from our user base because they just love the software, and many of them are using it as a consumer. And so we unlocked multi-tenancy. So you have a multi-tenant console that you're able to manage all of your customers from. We have no license minimum, so you can use it with a customer of one user. So there's no, and it's a monthly service billing. We've got integrations into IDP providers, into SIMs, into all sorts of other types of platforms. And what we're doing is we're allowing you as an MSP to profit from actually making your customers more secure and more productive at the same time. We're basically enforcing that zero trust security model into your user base and making it very, very simple to do. So we have very granular controls, especially when you're dealing with identification and authentication. You want to have the ability as a technician or as an admin user to have very granular controls over policies, who has access to what vaults, etc. So we have that built in. It's integrated with an SSO provider. So you can put security controls onto various vaults. And then we also have alerting and reporting, just things that you need to be able to be very successful as an MSP in the identity access management space. We have resources for you as an MSP that'll train you on our software. It's actually very, very intuitive. But we have some training. We have customer training as well, teaching them little snippets of videos that would teach them how to use the product. So how do I save a password? How do I do this? How do I do that? We have all of that type of training material in our education website that you have access for. And we have great support resources available for you as an MSP. So really, really good product. We've seen incredible growth over the last year. When I talk about with my industry friends about how many MSPs and how many users we're bringing on board each and every month, they're astonished at our growth at this point. So again, want to emphasize this. This is really, really critical. Security isn't just a feature for us. It's actually part of our design core principles. So early, I talked about our history. Our founders, when you think about encryption and you think about securing passwords, it's extremely important to have a platform that secures those in a way that will prevent any sort of breach into your own password. Because if someone actually gets into your password vault, they get access to all your passwords. So what 1Password has done, and we are unique in the industry in this space, is that we actually have two keys that are involved in our vault. So what that means is we've got your account password. So your password into 1Password is one of those keys that exists in one location. We add a second encryption key. So if you're a security professional, think about this as both client as well as server-side encryption keys. And so what this basically means is if someone gets a hold of my 1Password password, okay? So let's say I give my password to somebody into 1Password and they try to log in as me, they can't. Why? Because there's a second key involved. I don't even know what that key is. It's called the secret key, but we've introduced a second key that I don't know. So a user can have their password compromised into 1Password and still not compromise their 1Password vault. The same thing is true on the other side. So let's say that a criminal organization actually breaches 1Password. Guess what? They only have half the encryption key. So if someone breaches 1Password, they still don't get to Michael Reeves's 1Password vault. So we protect not only the business, but we also protect the user. So we've got an account password that protects the data on the client devices. And then we have the secret key, that second key that protects data off the client devices. And then we secure all of the network traffic between my 1Password application on my phone and the 1Password application in the cloud. Very, very, very secure model to be able to store and store that workflow, that authentication workflow. So it's a really brilliant system that they designed 20 years ago that we're taking advantage of today as well. And if you think about this from an AI perspective, and this is kind of a preview of where we're going as a company. If you listen to our executives talk at various conferences around the world, Where 1Password is going is we have this very secure architecture. What about the situation that's happening right now, which is we've got an AI application or agent that is trying to access a piece of data that we want to secure? It's session based, it's not a human user. How do we insert that security, that same security control into that workflow to be able to say, AI agent, who are you? Oh, you're that AI agent. And then what piece of information do you want to have access to? Should you have access to that data? Be able to authenticate that AI workflow on the fly, session based, and allow that AI agent either access or deny that access and do it on a real time basis. That's where 1Password is going in the AI identity space. So, very, very exciting future ahead of us. And so if you want to get started with 1Password, our MSP edition, all you have to do is contact Rosa at Renaissance. We're really excited to bring you on as our channel partner. And then here's your local 1Password team. We've got Olivia. Olivia actually lives in Ireland. Very, very exciting. And then we've got Jess and Tina. They live in the UK. And so that's your local 1Password team. We'd love to talk to you about our solution. We're very excited about our growth this year. And so really great team. So I want you again, think about why you want to close your doors to your flat. The answer to that question is the reason why we exist as a company. And it's a really important aspect of your security architecture as an MSP that you want to bring into your customer base. When I think about the opportunity for us as managed service providers in the small, medium business space, historically, we are really, really challenged by just securing the environment. And we have spent lots of resources over the last 10 or 15 years securing the network, securing their email, securing their servers and their desktops. And we've forgotten about securing the identities that in our user community. So I want to encourage you to just think about that. And that's where we come into play. I'll turn it over to you, Norman.
Lovely. Michael, appreciate that. Thanks very much. It was certainly a lot of really valuable information, and there's a lot for everybody to take away from this as well. And we wanted to also announce our competition, what we're calling the Road to Aviva. It started already, and it's going to run up to the 5th of March. And effectively, what you need to do is register. Obviously, if you're not already one of our MSP partners for 1Password, you register. For that, you'll get points towards going to Aviva as well. And during this period of time, we'll be allowing people to do things like webinars, product demos, sign up the first client. And for each one of these, you'll get various points, and the winner will be announced on the 6th of March. So, no, actually the 14th of March. Sorry, I don't know why I said the 6th of March. But anyway, and if you want any further information, there's a document which we can send out to you, which outlines the whole competition. There's a good bit of interest in it at the moment, and again, Rossa will be able to help you. Or for those that know me, reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to provide you with the information. And I wish everybody the best of luck to it. It will be a really nice event. 2 tickets, 5-star hospitality. For those who've been to the Aviva at one of these activities before, you'll know how good it is. As I said, best of luck to everybody. Also, we'd like to talk about the Cyber Expo, which most of you should be familiar with. I think it's in its 8th year this year, or 9th year. And 1Password will be attending again. There'll be a full set of sessions again. We'll be covering subjects like identity and access as well, and of course, there'll be plenty of things to talk about and discuss on the day and people to meet. So hopefully you'll be able to attend that. And again, sign up for free. And if you don't have the details, you know, talk to myself, or you can go onto our website and they're there as well. So there were some questions that came up during the session. Um,
Perfect.
so I'm just going to get into those. Gonna have to read them. I did print them out. So one of the questions was, and I think this is probably common amongst a lot of MSPs. They worry about the operational complexity of adding identity services to their stack. So
Ah.
so the question was, how does 1Password MSP Edition help with scaling across multiple client environments without that becoming a management headache?
Oh, great question. I love this question because it gets back into how I kind of got started into the security industry. And again, I got in at what I call scale. So early in my career, I handled Fortune 50 accounts. So I was an architect and in that space. And I learned security from an operational perspective, not from a theoretical perspective. When you need to roll security out at scale, so hundreds of thousands of users, you think about security in a certain way. So where 1Password fits into the operational security model is we have made it very simple for you to both onboard your customers. So it's a very simple point and click model within our UI. So you'll basically start a new customer, you click on a plus sign in there, you add a customer, you just type in their name, you give us their domain, and voila, you have a customer created. Once you create that customer, then you'll either do one of two actions. You'll either attach 1Password to their identity provider. So let's say they're using Entra or something like that. What you'll do is you'll connect 1Password to Entra, and Entra, that SSO connection will literally build all of the users into our platform. That's a really simple way. The other way that you will do that, let's say it's a very small customer and maybe they're not using Entra or something like that, or an identity provider. All you'll do is you'll send them an email. You'll basically click on a user, you'll send them an email. The user will click on the email, create their password, and voila, they're set up. We are a policy-based engine. So you'll set up a policy, and we have a default policy already set up for you. Um, but normally, as a security professional, I kind of balk at the idea of defaults. So I would definitely you'll figure out what your default template is for your customer base. You'll set permissions on those vaults. Once you set up your policy for that customer, there's very little interaction, if any, you'll have actually with 1Password. Again, we started out as a user-based company, so it's a very intuitive interface for your users. So you won't be doing a lot of training for your users. They will. The biggest encouragement I would have for you in this particular space is make sure your users set up what's called our browser extension so that it interacts with them on a daily basis. It'll auto fill in all of their password information, all of their MFA information. So that's the biggest. I think if I was thinking about from an MSP perspective, that's probably the biggest lift. And we have a little short video on how to do that if you want to help your customers. But that's the biggest, I think, operational piece of us is just getting that browser security plugin operational. Once that's done, there's really no administration of 1Password moving forward. The only thing I can think about over time is if a user forgets their password into 1Password, or they haven't set up the biometrics on their phone or something like that. As long as that's in place, you'll never hear from them. So it's a pretty simple operational model from a productivity perspective for MSPs. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer, Norman, but
No,
yeah, that's the way I think about security. So yeah,
no,
great question.
excellent. No, excellent. That was very good. Um, Now we've all seen these little beasties pop up all over the place. AI agents.
Yes.
They definitely are becoming much more prevalent, and each one of these is obviously going to need its own credentials. So the question is, how should MSPs be thinking about securing non-human identities alongside
Uh,
their traditional user?
Yeah, great question. I love this question because, again, uh, security architecture goes through various phases, and we're now in the same phase we were, I would say, about 15, almost 20 years ago now. If you think about, for those of you, we've got cloud platforms. That where it's just part of our normal life. So when you think about Microsoft or Google or AWS or whatever cloud platform there is, back in the beginning of those cloud platforms, it kind of transformed the industry because back before those SaaS platforms, basically from a security perspective, you built a wall around your company as a security professional. So basically, you made sure that wall was impenetrable. You monitored what was going on inside that wall, and that wall was your network. And so you built all these security controls, you bought all this software, you had all these services going on within that wall. Well, then AWS comes in, and now you started to have business units start experimenting and putting their stuff, their applications out into these platforms that you couldn't see, you couldn't control, you didn't know what was going on there. And about 20 years ago, that's maybe 15 years ago, that was where security professionals started to go, what is happening? What is happening? And so you saw the industry shift and say, how do we secure an environment that's outside of our four walls? And so back in the early days, and this relates to AI, you had to make a choice as a company. You had to say, are we going to keep everything within our four walls? Or are we going to go open and we're going to allow our applications to go out to the cloud? Well, the same principle or the same operational model is happening with AI. And you see this in the industry right now. When it comes to AI, companies are making the following choice. Do I want to secure that AI platform? And if so, what they're doing is they're buying a copy of that AI platform and they're bringing it inside their four walls. So you think about governments, you think about military, you think about financial firms, the ones that really need security, they are buying a platform and then they're forcing all of their users to only access their AI platform. So what they're doing is they're saying, we're going to keep this all in-house. In fact, 1Password's done this. So we've determined, because we're a security company and we don't want our intellectual property outside our company, we have licensed an AI platform for use internally at 1Password, and all of us access that platform for AI. The problem with that, over time, let's say 20 years ago or 20 years from now, it loses its value because all it knows is like 1Password information, or all it knows is government information. Open is kind of think about that as the cloud in the early days. Open will be the future. The problem is you can't secure it right now. So what 1Password is doing is, and we already have the technology, we just have to kind of productize it and make it available for customers, is we have the ability to intercept an AI request and say, who are you and what object are you coming from and what object do you want to access? And we can approve or deny that request on the fly. That allows a company to have their information out in an open space, but we can still secure that AI. So think of AI as a new user that we now have to authenticate. We have to identify it, we have to authenticate it, and we have to manage it. And that's kind of where, that's right where 1Password is going as a company. You're going to see that from us over the next couple of years. We're going to be releasing technology out into the ecosystem that'll allow you to actually manage those AI interactions. So really, really exciting space. It's kind of like the cloud in the early days.
Well,
Again,
yeah.
another long-winded answer. Sorry, Norman.
No, no, it's excellent. That's very, I mean, I think that's probably one of the things a lot of people are worrying about. So it's a great answer, and it's a great the fact that 1Password is seeing where this is going, and it's going to have the capability to put the technologies in place. So no, it's very good. Thanks for that,
Yep.
Michael. Um, the other thing you mentioned that MSPs who get sorry, well, I've got to read the question properly. The MSPs who get identity security right are seeing stronger margins, which is obviously something
Yes.
they're looking for. And key to that also client retention. So for MSPs who are just starting to have these access risk conversations, sorry, with their clients, what would you suggest is the best way to open that dialogue without really being a hard sell, if you like?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So great. Again, another great question. Um, Here's how I would start this Well, a couple of things before we talk about the customer. Let me talk about us as the MSP ecosystem. So I talked to Renaissance about pricing and things, but we have priced uh, uh, 1Password to you as an MSP to actually with really good margin for your customers. Here's why. We would like you as MSPs to help our what we call in our ecosystem our very small businesses, our SMB space. We want you to manage those customers, and there are a lot of them. And here's why: because we believe you are the best ones to help small businesses, very small businesses in the identity space. So we've actually made it possible, believe it or not, for you. Let's say you start to have a customer or start to have this conversation with the customer, and the customer says, well, we already use 1Password. Well, guess what? That is instant revenue for you, instant margin for you, because what you can do, we've enabled you, because we want you to manage that customer for us. We've enabled you to be able to import or basically connect their 1Password instance to your MSP instance. We call it linking. So we allow you to link that customer, and it's basically a security exchange. You basically, they initiate, they say, hey, I want you as an MSP to manage my 1Password instance. You receive them as the MSP, and then they acknowledge that, and you now are linked, and you take over the billing for that customer. We exit them out of the billing relationship with 1Password, and you take over that billing relationship. So instant margin, and they're paying more than what you are paying for 1Password. So that's the first thing. So it's instantaneous revenue for you if you come across a 1Password customer. So secondly, how do I get started? Let's say they don't use a password manager at all. Number one, I would ask them the very same question I asked you. I would say, look, we are in a new age as a society. Um, Criminals, it is very, very easy for people that want to do you harm to access your environment. And we can spend a lot of money uh, trying to secure your environment, but at the core of your environment is your users. The easiest way in, and this is what I would tell a customer if I was sitting down, and this is what we used to do in the Fortune 50. You start with if the premise, if I can become you, Mr. Customer, if I'm a criminal and I can become you, I now have access to all of your information. I can impersonate you without you knowing and without me knowing as an MSP, and we can't protect you from that. That is what is happening at scale right now. And so it's like your Mr. Customer, your door to your house is wide open, and anyone can access your environment. So think about that as a business. Um, Anyone can access any part of your business, and we'll try our best. But the best way to secure this is to lock your doors. And so, can we talk about how do we go about locking your doors? And and that will start the wheels turning in their minds. And just ask them very simple questions. This is how I talk about it, and it makes total sense. Have you ever gone to a venue and left your car doors wide open? No. Well, why haven't you done? Why don't you do that? And they'll say, well, that would be crazy. Well, guess what? That's what's happening in your business right now. Let's talk about how to fix that. That's how I bring up that conversation.
That's a very good analogy. Um, Hopefully I've never left my car doors open, but anyway.
I know. I said this to one guy. It was kind of funny. He goes, I said, well, you went to the store, right? You went to the supermarket, and when was the last time you went to the supermarket and saw anyone's car doors open? Well, never. That person would be an idiot. And I said, well, that's what's happening in your business. And he was like, huh. I go, if we can't secure you, and I asked him because he was the owner of the business. I said, are you confident that all of your employees have unique, very complicated passwords for all of their applications? So in other words, are you very confident that someone's Facebook or Google or Microsoft password is not the password to get into your environment? And he said, no, I can't do that. They have all sorts. I don't know what they're doing. I said, exactly. This is a way for you to know exactly what your users are using for their authentication, for their identification. You can secure all of that, and it's like locking the doors to your flat or to your car. He was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. We're going to wrap it up fairly soon, but there was another question that came in.
Sure.
And there are a number of obviously MSPs out there would have already had maybe some sort of form of password management or access control
Uh,
that they've rolled
yeah.
out. So what would you suggest as the next step in them maturing to full security identity? That's obviously going to drive their
Yeah.
revenues.
Yeah. Great question. So let's say a couple of things. If you're already using a password manager or so let's say that your customer has a password management in place. A couple of things. Number one, I would ask about the user experience of that password manager. So, for example, I would ask questions like, well, how many are actually using it? And what you'll find, and what I found over the last couple of years is Most users that are using password managers hate it. In other words, it makes their life more complicated unless they're a technical user. So a technical user can make any software work for them. So they'll go through the extra steps and stuff. I would ask what percentage of the user community is actually using that password manager? And if the answer is very low, then the operational security value of that password manager is also very low because you want users. The only way this works from an architecture perspective is you get most of the users or all of the users ideally using a password manager. If they are using, so that would be the first thing. How many of them are using it? If not all of them are using it, make sure all of them are using it. Okay. So that's step number one. Make sure the whole user base is on it. Two, and that's where 1Password, that's where we excel because most users just love our software, like love it. It makes it really, really simple. Um, the second piece would be make sure you have an identity provider and you link that password manager to that identity provider so that you can control that environment both from a policy perspective as well as from a grouping perspective, and you can do it at scale. So I would connect that to an identity provider, would be the second step. And number three, I would make sure that that password manager and that authentication workflow is kind of looking into the future and making sure that they're going to cover non-human entities in the future. So make sure that that is a path that you have. Otherwise, in 5 to 6 years, you're going to be ripping out that password manager and putting in another one that has that on its roadmap. So that would be my encouragement.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So everybody, make sure they close the doors out there in the car park. And Michael, thanks so much. I thought that was very, very interesting. I thought there was a lot
Great.
of very practical information as well. It wasn't all product based, and people I think value that as well today. Um, and I think it's clear from listening to you that identity and access management isn't a nice to have. It really is a must
No,
have.
it is.
And if you're going to secure yourself, so I think that came through extremely clear, and I think I don't think there's any argument against that. So thank you for that. And if anybody wants any further information, reach out. We're more than happy to assist. There's a full team of guys here, and we just want to make this as simple as possible for you guys to be able to either continue to use 1Password, join our 1Password partner program, and we have technical resources as well to assist you. Funny enough, I was looking at it prior to this. I think I've been using 1Password for probably 8, 9, 10 years, and it's one of those things that's just there and I use it, and I never even think about it day to day.
Right.
But it's just, and that's probably because it's easy to use, you know.
Yes.
And that's because I'm by nature, if it's difficult, I avoid it and I walk away and I
Right.
move. It's one of the first things I used on my Apple, and it's probably the one thing I've used continuously and not deleted because I'm a great man for downloading and then, you know, 30 days later I delete it. So it's an excellent product and I'd recommend everybody look at it. Um,
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Great to see you again, and look forward to talking to you soon. And thank you everybody for joining. It's been really good.
Great. Well, thanks
Thanks.
so much.